Hello and welcome to Season 1, Episode 5 of SuperCoach Swordplay. As always, I'm here with my co-host, Ryan. How are you, mate? How's your weekend?
Very, very well, Johnny. Another week to go until school holidays are finished, so counting down those days. And look, football-wise, I just took a little bit of a break because I had a bit of a rough start to the weekend with my SuperCoach side. So I thought, I'm just going to step back just for a little while. But in the end, couldn't help myself. Did watch a few of the games, but for what I normally do on the weekend football-wise, I really held back a little bit this week. But how about yourself, mate? Did you end up playing this weekend? Did you play yourself?
Yeah, I did play myself. We played up against a side that was really struggling on their knees at the moment. Down in Maryborough, we pretty much smashed them. We won by 169 points, mate. And yeah, felt pretty sorry for them, unfortunately. It's been that story all year for them. They only had about 12 players. We gave them 4 of our own. And just to make it even, we didn't have a bench, just so it was a fair hit out. And they had a couple of thirds kids playing because they don't have a thirds team either. So, yeah, really unfortunate club, mate. And I'll tell you what, one of the coldest games of footy I've ever played. I reckon it was the top of 6 for the day.
I don't do the cold.
Yeah, it was good to just get that out of the way. Not a bad drive from Bendigo down to Maryborough, but yeah, the poor blokes just can't get a win this year. But yeah, not too bad, mate. And believe it or not, didn't kick a goal. I was playing defence as well. Got a bit of a role change off half back. So yeah, don't mind it. It's a bit new and just getting the hang of it. But yeah, a cold, wet, windy day, and yeah, hopefully don't do that for the rest of the season. And I went out on Saturday night for a couple of mates, and believe it or not, I actually got recognised, mate. out at the
here we go.
Yeah, for the second time that's happened this year, which was quite bizarre. And I was in the toilet. I won't sugarcoat it. I was pissed. I was that pissed, and I was in the.
It's starting off with pissed in the toilet. How's this going to go, mate? Ooh.
Not literally. I just maggoted, just sort of off my head kind of stuff. Nah, just having a couple of soda waters, mate. You know me. I'm pretty. Yeah. I'm pretty well behaved. But I was in the toilet, and this guy taps me on the shoulder, and he's got a couple of mates next to him, and they're just pissing themselves, laughing at me. I'll say that again, pissing themselves. Just a bit of a pun there, but they're just laughing their heads off, and I'm going, what are you guys laughing at? You guys right? And he's like, You're still a SuperCoach, aren't you? And I go, yeah, I am. How you going? I just didn't know what the hell to say in the heat of the moment. And he's like, I'm a massive fan of your channel. I watch your podcast with DR. I gave the bloke a shout out in my review and took a photo with him. And yeah, it was pretty funny, mate. And yeah, an interesting time. I was sort of caught off guard a fair bit because I'm known for hosting a podcast with you and got my own SuperCoach YouTube channel. Meant to be into my footy and a bit sort of had my head screwed on a bit, but I'll tell you what, mate, on Saturday night, didn't really have my head screwed on that tightly. I will admit that. It was funny as, mate. I don't know if that's happened to you before, but yeah, it was an absolute pisser, mate.
Oh, no, good times. As a couple of times at the footy, it was a Collingwood-Brisbane match where I'd had a few cold ones that night, mate, fair to say. A fair few cold ones and a bit of mischief at Hungry Jack's with a few of the boys in the city there. So we'll leave it at that, mate.
Leave it at that.
What happened at Hungry Jack's will stay at Hungry Jack's that night. So.
Well, you're a school teacher, mate, so you definitely got to cover your arse. I work in the transport industry, so I can sort of afford to say I'm a bit off the rails at times, but definitely on my best behaviour during the week, mate, where it matters. So... Look, how'd you go this week in SuperCoach, mate? I'll start off on a positive and ask you how you went before I tell you how I went. So yeah, like to see it.
Oh well, look, it's not a huge positive actually. I think it was about the 3rd or 4th time this year I actually went backwards in the rankings. So I think I was around 324, 325, and now right on 400. So number 400 at the moment. So I can technically say that I'm still in the top 400, but I'm sliding down a little bit, I think, mate. And as I said, it was a bit of a rough start to the round. You know, CCJ, Madden, Zach Smith, all not playing. These are the blokes that I was really relying on for some of that cash gen. And yeah, it's a little bit tougher getting Brady Grundy, but hopefully I'll be able to do that this week. Some stars brought Dangerfield in. That was a really good move. Went absolutely massive. So big shout out to Danger. Sammy Walsh as well broke through the tag. That's a really, really good sign, I think. And the other man, Jack McRae, my captain, been captain for the last couple of weeks. So Mr. Reliable. I don't know how your captain went this week, mate. We'll have to hear about how he went in a minute. But look, overall, still below par. But, top 400, not complaining too much. But tell us about your week, Johnny. How'd you go Supercoach-wise, mate?
Yeah, look, mate, I think you know exactly what I'd do with my captaincy. But, look, I won't go into that at the moment. I scored a measly 2,251 points, if you don't mind, mate. Just an absolutely cracking score. Well, if it was round one, I guess, but it's not round one. So, yeah, quite putrid. It was a top 19% score, and I fell 1,173 spots in the ranks and 0 out of 7 league wins. Luckily, I'm still in the top 3%, but that's inexcusable. Basically, 2 donuts, mate. So, I got 1 donut, but I did get a 5 in CCJ. So, he's going this week. I think there's no doubt about that. So, yeah, basically 5 points off 2 players is absolutely unacceptable. So, yeah, massive stitch up, mate. And, yeah, a disaster trade in Eddie Ford. I did upload a video last night on him. Just a bit of a laugh, but yeah, a bit flat about that one, mate. And yeah, pretty
classic video. Yeah, loved it, mate. Loved it.
I just had to, buddy, do
raw emotion.
I had to open up. I had to open up to the Supercoach community and speak up and tell everyone how I felt. And yeah,
it was like the behind the scenes footage of a real life Supercoacher. What actually happens behind the scenes, the emotions that go into the game.
Yeah, that's
what's that footy documentary? When they go, behind the scenes in the rooms and all the rest. I forget the name of it.
Yeah,
it's on the tip of my tongue, but anyway, you know what I mean. It's like that from a Supercoach perspective. Yeah, it'd be funny to do that for people to actually send in their videos like that, wouldn't it? And just describe how they're feeling, and you see what other blokes go through, and you probably find that we're all very, very similar, or go through the same sort of thing, mate.
It's like that Stewie Jew vision in it, where he's like spraying the shit out of the Gold Coast boys in the rooms, like, we're not working hard enough, and then you got buddy Matty Nick saying to Brad Crouch, if you don't want to defend,
right,
fuck off. Like, a bit of behind-the-scenes motion to my Supercoach team, like just giving CCJ an absolute bloody whirl. So I can't even remember what that documentary is called. I'm sure it will come to me soon.
Making their mark? Not making their mark?
Yeah, that's the one. That's it, yeah.
It's on the tip of my tongue. I was thinking it had some alliteration in it somewhere, but there you go. Yeah, making their mark.
I was thinking of Access All Areas, because that's another one I watch like every Monday on the AFL app with Damien Barrett and Lordo. So like it kind of doesn't really sound the same, but sounds like the name that you could have as a doco. I don't know, but
close enough,
yeah,
mate.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it was not too bad. Trading in Eddie Ford at first. Look, you'd think the bloke would play, wouldn't I? Yeah, I don't know. I don't really want to talk about it.
I might talk about it later. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's fair enough, because I'm done talking about it, mate. Look, what's your headline for this week? Because there are quite a few to go on. I'll let you kick this one off, because I want to start with the positives first yet again.
Well, there were a few headlines we could have gone with this week, but for mine, it is danger signs with Cyclone Darcy approaching. Yeah, that game on the weekend, Darcy Parish, Patrick Dangerfield, wasn't that just phenomenal? If you had both of those blokes in your side, how good would that be? You would just be absolutely laughing. And look, Parish, he's broken records this year. I think he's got 3 medals in his cabinet just in 2021 already. Look, from Anzac Day, he just hasn't stopped, has he? We just haven't seen a poor score from Parish. And, man, are we talking Brownlow calculations here? Must be in the conversation, I think, now, mate, Darcy Parish. So just super. And he's one of those blokes I noticed that, second, third, fourth effort. So there was one time where he actually missed the handball, but then basically dived on his own handball, got it again, handballed it out, hit someone's knee, dived on it again, got it. He's just phenomenal, and his work rate and his work ethic is just second to none at the moment. So massive game from him. And Paddy Dangerfield, wow, I don't think anyone saw this coming. Maybe a 110, 120. We were thinking if he has a good game, but he saved my round, and it wasn't a terrific round for me, but without Dangerfield, I would have been in deep trouble and most likely outside the top 500. So, these two men are coming home strong. And if you don't own them, I think they're going to really, really hurt you, mate. But how about yourself? What's your headline for the week, Johnny?
Well, I don't own either of them. So, that definitely does show. My headline for this week is ruined rookies result in F6 donut in Spill's team. And that was, another
local headline,
Another reference to Eddie Ford, mate. Jeez, I just couldn't get anyone, could I? Like Briggs was dropped. Boston Valaki's always in the top 24. Can't get it done, mate. Bloody poor Jimmy Madden gets hurt. There's no one. Absolutely no one. Oh, I think there was a rookie. I can't remember what his name was, but he was like 190K. He scored pretty ordinary, low ceiling. Don't know what it was, but is it worth it? No, not really. So, with Eddie Ford making his debut, I just thought, look, surely he's going to get a bit of match time. So he's a medical sub, and I was quite flat about that. So, that's my headline, mate. It's just, quite flat.
Unfortunate headline. Sometimes they're positive, sometimes they're negative. So, unfortunately, a negative one this week. Hopefully next week you can bring us some brighter news, Spills. That's the aim. That's the goal for next week with the headline. Hopefully some positive news.
Well, look, he can't get dropped. I mean, he didn't underperform because he didn't play. So surely David Abel gives him another crack. I mean, what much more can the bloke possibly do? It is time for DR's rant, mate. What have you got for us this week?
Well, let's just continue this conversation. Because my rant this week is the fact that the Ford was parked. I don't think it was very noble of David to keep him as a medical sub. Who announces a debut game? Family gets around him, jumper presentation all over social media. Everyone gets really excited for the young fella, and he starts as a bloody medical sub. We cannot afford to be doing this, Spills. I don't know what the punt count is at the moment, but I tell you what, it's more than his time on ground over the weekend. 0% for Eddie. So I don't know what the thought process behind that is. I would have assumed, as you did, mate, because we had this conversation about, who do we bring in? Because if you're desperate to avoid a donut this week, you've got to get a debutant most likely. And Eddie Ford was the one. It was all over social media. So you're expecting, surely he's got to be in the 22. But unfortunately, he wasn't. So I don't get that. I think it's unfair. I'm not for it. It really irritates me. And I'm surprised because David Noble is a really, really good character. I've met Nobes on a couple of occasions, had some conversations with him. I don't know him personally. Don't get me wrong by any stretch. But, what he did for the Lions was really shift and develop that culture. And the fact that as coach, he went with that move, I'm, just a little bit off it and a little bit surprised. But each their own. But from a SuperCoach sense, anyone that did get him in, and some people, you have to get some of these players in a little bit early just before the game because you need to make your other trade. You may need to make money to make another trade and all the rest. So just super unlucky for SuperCoaches that went there. And from an AFL sense, and I suppose from his point of view, from Eddie Ford's point of view, just really, really disappointing, getting excited over basically sitting on the bench. So you could do that from the sidelines, I reckon. So that's my rant for this week, mate. Do not name debutants as the Medi sub. Just unfair.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sticking up for me there. It was a shocker on Sunday. It didn't help that I was quite rusty from Saturday night's efforts, and just watching Bonapelli just not get it at all. And he went 82, I'm pretty sure, as my captaincy, and
hurts.
It was disappointing. He had 5 disposals in the first 4 minutes, and I went, oh, here we go. Checked it was 30% effective. Oh, fuck. Oh, jeez, all right. Gave away a few free kicks. It was weird. Every time the ball went near him, it just sort of went past him, it spilled out. It just didn't sit for him. Got cut off by McRae a couple of times. Just wasn't in the right spot. Wasn't his day, unfortunately. So, and then, obviously back onto Eddie Ford, just not seeing him get a run. You find yourself almost barracking for a North player to get injured, which is terrible. But I'm just like, oh, someone just go down so this bloke can get a run, and oh my goodness, mate.
It makes you think bad things, this game, doesn't it? It makes you think bad things, you know.
SuperCoach brings out the absolute worst in some blokes, mate, and yeah, as seedy as Sunday was, it definitely brought the worst out of me. That's for sure. Look, it's time for SuperCoaches Who. I know there are a couple of good ones this week. DR, I'll let you kick off this one. What is your first SuperCoaches Who, mate?
Well, I've already touched on this slightly, but SuperCoaches Who had CCJ on field this week.
Yeah.
What a bugger. 5 points. This really, really hurt. So in my personal situation, I've got him in at R2. If this is a week later, it happens, I've already got Grundy in my side. He goes about a 125, I think. So I'm losing 120 points on field just by having him on ahead of Grundy, Grundy being my last upgrade, who hopefully I'll get to this week. So if you avoided having CCJ on field, you've probably had a much, much better week than those who didn't. So, yeah, really, really annoying with that. And future cash gen out the window. So yeah. SuperCoaches Who had CCJ on field, you'd be absolutely spewing, mate.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of people as well. Look, that would have been a very common move, I think. And look, it's not like I could have done anything differently with 3 donuts behind him, basically 5 for 4 rookies. Just disgraceful stuff. My first SuperCoaches Who is SuperCoaches Who traded in Dangerfield this week. It's a bit of a vanilla sort of one, but it was a great move. And who bloody saw this coming, mate? If I'll bring up CCJ again, but if CCJ went relatively good and Danger just went 110 or something like that, I would have been able to get Danger in one trade, but I can't do that. In fact, I have 170k in the bank, and if I do that, I only gain 30k. So if I'm with like a downgrade as well, so really, really not that good, mate. Looking at a value pick this week, which I'll kind of announce later on in the video. I don't know what you reckon of that one, but yeah, if you trade in Danger, that is a solid move. And DR, you'd be wrapped with that one. And yeah, who would have saw him go 180 plus? I don't know who gets the 3 votes out of that game, Danger or Parrish. They were both absolutely phenomenal. I'd probably say Danger just because the Cats got the win. But look, those two just had the ball on the string, mate.
Yeah, just phenomenal. And look, I didn't pick Danger anywhere near this. My advice in last week's stock market video was you can probably either wait a week or jump on him now because his break even was right on 100. And given recent form, we thought maybe at best, that 110 to 120, maybe at worst, that 80 mark. So you shouldn't go too wrong waiting a week. CCJ got more money to make.
Yeah,
these things just happen. Another spanner in the works. But my next SuperCoaches Who is SuperCoaches Who lost by over 350 points when they scored a 24-22. That was me this week. I came up in a cash league match against Arthur. Shout out to Arthur. I know he watches the podcast, watches all of our content, but he scored a 27-70. Absolutely phenomenal. I think it was the third highest score of the round. So he must be sitting right up there in the overall rankings. He must be top 5, I think, by now, because he's been top 10, I think, for a couple of weeks. So congratulations, Arthur. Well done, mate. But at the same time, get yourself the win, but you really need to eat up my percentage that badly. Arthur, come on, mate. Don't get greedy. Take your 4 points. But geez, mate, 350 points loss when you score 20 for 100 plus, that's pretty harsh. So congrats, Arthur. But come on, mate. Just settle down a little bit, Arth.
That's a mind-numbing score, mate. What league's he in? He's on the cash league.
It's a $60 cash league.
Fuck.
Yeah.
I know I'm in the $20 cash league. I know I'm in the $20 cash league, and my biggest problem in that is you. If I can beat you in the finals, which would be hard to do, that's my biggest issue. If Arthur, who looks like he's having an unbelievable season, well done to him. If he was in that $20 cash league,
well, mate, I'm writing Arthur the check. I'm writing Arthur the check already. Stamping it, sending it to him now. So Arthur, send me your address now, mate. You pretty much got in the bag, I think, buddy. But I don't know if you know, Spills, this week in our $20 cash league, you've got a massive head-to-head matchup.
The man
competing against George. It's you and George this week, and I took a sneaky look at the projected scores. And I reckon there's about 40 points difference at the moment your way before trades. Yeah. So it's going to be a big one this week. I know was about 10th in that league at the moment. So it's a big week for you this week in that $20 cash league. So I'm just getting the popcorn out, sitting back, and seeing how you two boys go this week and see what the Spills versus George battle's like in round 18, mate.
It's going to be interesting because we're both under a fair bit of pressure. I'm struggling with F6 and he's got Cam Guthrie, which has been a bit of a shocker from him. But
unlucky,
very unlucky. It's going to be an interesting head-to-head battle. I hope I get up on him. The midfield's really good in my team, and if I go trading, I can do it. If I trade in Dangerfield this week and have him basically Hind at F5 and then Briggs on F6 if he plays, my projected score is 2,600 and something. So that's unbelievable. Like, that is crazy. So I'm not doing that trade. I think I can't quite afford it. It's a bit. I'll talk about the smoky I've got in mind very shortly in the podcast. But even with that, he's basically mid-price category, and even with him, it's still 2,550 or so. Like, it's still a good score. So yeah, look, George, I'm coming for you. But yeah, look, I won't be surprised if I cough that one up a fair bit. You never know with me, mate. I could screw it up somehow. But that leads me to my second SuperCoaches Who, and mate, that is SuperCoaches Who have Jally at M8, a reference to the Spills Lethals midfield, mate. This is unbelievable, and I know the forward line's in shambles, but the midfield's going quite comfortably, I'd have to say there.
Quite comfortably, I think, is a bit of an understatement there. If you've got Jelly at M8, I think he's about M4 for me. But look, I think, as you said, as you mentioned with your forward line before, you're a little bit low there. But if you compare, your side to mine, I've probably got a stronger forward line, but I've still got Langford there, who's a bit of a nothing pick now. And I'm missing the Steels, the JLs, the Bonds, and these type of blokes that you're running with. So I think at the end of the day, pretty much evens out, given the fact you've really invested in your midfield. But look, we'll see what happens, mate. Don't know what's going to happen from here until the end of the season, but still looking all right, I think, mate. If you can upgrade that last forward spot or those last two forward spots with some decent options, you'll be steaming home, I reckon, Spills. But my last SuperCoaches Who, mate, is SuperCoaches Who are getting desperate. Low on trades, low on cash now, some unexpected injuries, and all of a sudden there are some options who we would not normally consider that have to come into calculation. So I'm talking about players like Jordan De Goey, NDHP policy, consistency, roller coaster. But then you look, he's played in the midfield last couple of weeks, 100+ scores at an attractive price. You've got to look at some of these options. Well, some teams do if you're really, really desperate. So stay tuned to the stock market video this week, because I've got a few wacky options that you may take a look at. I'm not necessarily advocating them, but if you're in a desperate situation, you do need to get desperate. You need to look outside the box at some of these picks, and beggars can't be choosers. And I think for some teams, you're going to have to just take a bit of a risk, I think, on possibly a roller coaster type pick. But I'll save that for the stocky, mate. But super coaches are starting to get desperate.
And I'm definitely one of those. My last one is SuperCoaches Who go for unrealistic VC attempts. And another dig at myself, I VC Dustin Martin because I was always going to captain Bonampally. And I did say last week in the podcast that I had a 150 threshold, which is hasn't that one come back to bite me in the ass, mate? So I could not have that on the list, I don't think. It was an absolute shamble, and no one saw that coming. He and Oliver were by far my worst scoring midfielders, and it's not every week you say that. So, yeah, super, super unlucky there, I would imagine.
100%, mate, 100%. It's, you love this game and then you hate it, don't you? But let's just roll with the punches and pray to the SuperCoach gods. Maybe in the next couple of weeks, may even need to come out with another sacrifice, I think, mate. We need to get something in the works. We need luck to change our way, I think.
Yeah, that's it. Do you have one last SuperCoach Who for us, or is that all it?
All done, mate. All done this week.
All right, we'll move on to Locking Horns. We're back for this week. We had a rest last week. There just wasn't a whole lot to discuss, but we do have one in the bag. And look, Ryan, I might actually let you kick this one off a fair bit because it's a bit of a contentious kind of move and one that you definitely disagree with that I am looking at doing. So tell me why this is the wrong move and what it is to the viewers I am doing.
Trap.
Trap.
Well, it relates to what we were just talking about before, and that is, super coaches who are desperate. Okay. Now, there are some desperate people out there, such as yourself in your forward line at the moment, mate. But the bloke that you're looking at, you simply can't do it. Who am I talking about? It's Isaac Heaney. Now, we've discussed this bloke multiple times. We've called him a trap. George's favourite phrase, why Zach Heaney? Spills. This has the potential to end in great pain. He's not the most durable type of player. He's up, he's down. What are you doing here, mate? I cannot agree with the Isaac Heaney pick, but at the same time, it may be circumstantial to your team. Explain the reasoning or the method behind your madness when you are actually contemplating after a month ago saying, geez, we've avoided this bloke. Well done. Why are you now contemplating bringing this man into your side?
Well, for starters, have you seen my forward line rookies and the coverage I've got? I can get in Dale. I can get in Dale and Danger quite easily, but that stuffs up my future trades. And where are the rookies coming from, and where's that final upgrade coming from if I do that? With Isaac Heaney, most people may be oblivious to this, but he is actually 349k at the moment with a break even of 60 odd something. And coming off an 80 score against West Coast, the Swans were good. I work with a guy, he's a diehard Sydney Swan supporter, and he reckons Heaney's in pretty good shape. That's good enough for me. And if I get in Heaney now, that will allow me to do a 550k final upgrade, even with bad rookies. All I need to do is maybe get a couple more games out of Briggs, or hopefully Ford gets even one price raise would be more than enough, because I'm banking well over 200k if I go Heaney instead of Dangerfield. And even better, I save a trade as well, so I can just go CCJ straight up to Heaney, which is fine. I still bank 100k doing that. If I don't have to downgrade. If I go Dale, this is so stiff by the way, but I've been eyeing off Dale and Tommy Hawkins, who are around sort of mid to high 400k, and I think I'm short 5k for Tommy Hawkins.
Damn.
Yeah, I've got a bit of coin in the salary cap, so if I go CCJ to Tom Hawkins, I'm short 5k, and I'm short another 10 or 15 for Dale. So there's literally no one there's those two, and then you're into the Jarman Impey sort of, dare I say it, Kyle Langford territory, where they're kind of a bit cheaper and you're not really sure which one to go with. And yeah, if I go for someone expensive, I might not be able to finish the team, and I don't want to do that. Where Heaney at F6, look, if he can play the remainder of the season, I'll call it a win. He is coming off, I think, 3 scores of like 50s and 60s, had a nice score on the weekend. So things can only get better for him from now on. Sydney look like the real deal this year. And like we discussed this when we both trade in Jally, but because it's coming into the back half of the season, it lowers the risk of them getting injured. It's not like I'm starting with Jally or Heaney. I've only got round 23, so like 6 or 7 weeks. You'd have to be pretty unlucky for it to backfire. And yeah, as I said, getting in Heaney now allows me to target a full premium forward player. And if I get in a premium now, I have to bank on someone being a 350k keeper in like 3 or 4 weeks. And I don't want to bank on that because I don't think there'll be anyone. It's one of those ones where the ship could sail off quite quickly with Heaney, and I'm pretty sure this is the cheapest he's been since he was basically a rookie. So that's sort of my justification for Heaney, mate. Do I like this move? Absolutely not. I actually hate it a fair bit, but I think he's a superstar, and in the situation of my team at the moment, it can't get much worse than the forward line, so I'm willing to sort of run the gauntlet and jump on, dare I say it again, I dream of Heaney. So, yeah, hopefully that one could be a good move, but it has potential to really go downhill. And I completely understand why you disagree with me on that one, DR.
Well, what I'll give you, mate, is the points that you raise is that it's really team dependent. So you're looking at Heaney as a combo with another premium. And it's, I suppose you're looking at it being a safer move to grab Heaney now while he's cheap and then get that premium a little bit later. And with your situation, when you're facing a potential donut, for example, at that F6 position, then it may actually make sense, I think, mate. So, look, I'm not completely off it as a pick. I don't love it. But as you said, if you look at the other options around that price, he's arguably got the most upside out of any other player there. There's no doubting his talent. You know, Buddy's back on the side now. Does that help him? Possibly, I'm not too sure. But, yeah, look, mate, I won't give you too much for it because I can see the logic behind why he's looking to select him.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, we lock horns on quite a few things, but now it's time to lock horns with the audience and stir the pot a little bit with the viewers. And this is where I'm going to introduce our new segment. We did it last week. We're going to go on with it, but this is Spills and DR's Big Calls. This is where we drop a one-liner that is going to spark up a little bit of a Barbie for the viewers, maybe enforce a dislike or 5, who knows, but we will say something completely controversial that we reckon is going to happen. And whether you disagree or whether you agree or disagree with it or not, if you're watching, this is just how it is. These are our big calls, and we are making them right now. I'll start off, mate. My big call for this week is Tigers supporters are going to hate me, but Richmond will not make the 8 this year, mate. They served up one of the most disgraceful performances I've ever seen against Gold Coast, and probably the best win Gold Coast have ever had, equal with when they also beat Richmond with Carmichael Hunt kicking the goal after the sirens.
Oh, that's right.
I'm off Richmond. I don't think they have a system at the moment. Their players are dropping like sacks of shit. I don't know. I can't think of anything. They just look terrible, mate. And I reckon if West Coast can win a couple of games at home, because they're on the ropes as well, mate. I don't think Essendon make the 8, but a real smoky. I don't mind the Dockers at the moment. They've put together a nice string of games, and the Giants are already in there. So it's a battle for 8, and I think the Giants hold it, but it's a toss-up between Richmond and Fremantle. And I'm going to back the Dockers in, I reckon, mate. So, yeah, Richmond supporters are going to come after me for that one. But, yeah, a bit contentious. And that's my call, and I am sticking to it, mate.
Very nice. And, mate, I think it's a realistic call as well. You know, the Tigers are in a little bit of trouble. They need to pull something out, I think, even to make the 8. You know, I don't think they can do much damage with what they're producing at the moment. Who knows? But I think a fair call at this stage, mate. And, look, my big call is also related to the finals, and it's Melbourne drop out of top 4. In the next 7 games, they're actually coming up against some tough opponents. So I've got it written down here. They've got Port away this week. Then they've got the Dogs, the Eagles away. Eagles aren't in great form at the moment, but away, if it is over in WA, that's always going to be a tough match. And then they've also got Geelong down at Cardinia Park. So there's 4 matches that realistically, if they're not on their best game, they could easily drop. And, you know, you've got some other teams like the Lions who are playing really well, Geelong nipping at their heels, the Doggies obviously going pretty well at the moment. So, yeah, if I was a Melbourne supporter, I'd be a little bit nervous. History suggests that there are times where they do tend to choke a little bit. And don't get me wrong, I love Melbourne as a side. I really hope that they go well, Melbourne. I really feel for supporters and all the rest. But I'd be a tad worried because their forward line's in a little bit of trouble at the moment. Clary's off his game. Gawn isn't dominating. That may be because Jackson's playing pretty well. But, yeah, big call is that Melbourne, out of the top 4, finish 5th.
That is an outrageous call, mate. That is huge. It's controversial, but I love it. That's a ripper. I agree with you completely. I don't think they fall out of the top 4, but look, I reckon they can win at least 1 or 2 of those games quite comfortably. It just depends if they rock up or not. Like we saw what they did against Collingwood. Like they're just, I feel like and against the Giants as well at home, that was a real, upset in my opinion. There's no reason they should have lost that one. My only take on that is, do they think they're going to win the flag already? Are they dreaming? Like maybe they're not being realistic. Whether we look at the Dogs and they kind of like, yeah, they're going really well, but look, we've still got a lot of work to do and we've got to go all the way kind of thing. I feel like Melbourne are satisfied with where they are on top of the ladder, and that can cause them to just sort of brain fade a fair bit, thinking they've got it in the bag, which isn't a really good mindset. Maybe a little bit why Richmond are dropping off now, because they've had all that success, which could result in taking away the hunger that they have for winning games and stuff, because they've already been there and done that. So maybe the D's, they're going on a run. I think they're satisfied because they've been so unsuccessful in the past, but there's still so much more to do. So, yeah, mate, I absolutely love that call. And, yeah, I can't agree with you anymore with that. What are your future trade targets? Have you finished your team at all? Like, have you got another upgrade to go, or is that it?
Well, I do, but I can finish it this week. So I just need to get Grundy back into the side. And look, I have actually looked for the first time in a long time at some other ruck options. You know, Sean Darcy played out of his skin on the weekend. Goldie's been playing well. Even had a look at Nick Nat. There's Rob. He didn't play overly well over the weekend. But look, at the end of the day, Rowan Marshall, here's another one, but just a bit of a risk, I think, with his durability. So at the end of the day, I'm just going to spend 2 trades, CCJ and Zach Smith out, and bring Big Brodie Grundy in, I think. And that way I'll have a completed side, 2 trades left in case of any carnage. I'm certainly not going to use them to do some sort of a luxury upgrade. I'm just going to keep them in the bank for a rainy day. Surely we've got to have players get injured and rested. I don't want to say it, but, you know, it's a pretty likely outcome, I think. It's hard to go from here until the end of the season unscathed in your Supercoach side, injury-wise. So, yeah, for me, that's what it is. And, again, there's lots of teams that are in different situations. You know, there's some teams looking for a defender, that final mid, like you, a couple of forward options. So, yeah, what I'm doing a little bit this week in the stock market is I'm going to try to categorise the players a little bit more, even go, for example, 300 to 400 in the forwards, because that's a more specific price range, I think, for some people. So, yeah, we'll be looking at a few wacky options this week for other people. But personally, mate, it's a pretty easy one. In Grundy and Jacob Edwards as a loop, and out CCJ and Zach Smith. Yeah. What about yourself, bud?
I think I'm going to go through with Heaney this week, just for that one trade. It may bite, but yeah, it's smart in a way. Look, it's an outrageous trade. Jeez, I don't know why I'm doing it. I know George nearly did it, and he didn't. And he was he was a massive sigh of relief there. But look, he's so cheap, and if I go for, because my other ones was Danger and Dale. Getting them in, it's just maybe I don't complete my side if I do that, and I'm burning cash I don't have. I've got to go full budget mode. So I think Heaney could really work out for me. And if it does work, I'll then have that luxury to go Danger or Dale or even Tom Hawkins, who has a pretty easy fixture on the back half of the season. He's notorious for really turning it on in the last month of the footy. If you put together I think it was a 160 and a 200 in the last 5 or 6 weeks of 2020. Like, he just had this run. He's a key forward. He's going to drop some stinkers, but yeah, he's a VC option on a Friday night type of thing. He could just explode. So yeah, I'll sit on that for a couple of weeks, and I won't finish my team until Supercoach finals, when I can really make that call, and Heaney will probably be my F6. So yeah, I reckon I'll go through with that. So yeah, Heaney this week, and Danger and Dale for future trades, because yeah, obviously I've still got a couple more upgrades to go. A little bit behind on the competition, I think, there, mate.
No, I like it, mate, and particularly Danger and Dale is your next upgrade. One of those 2 blokes, I think they're probably the 2 best options that you've got that you don't have in your side. So yeah, all for that, mate, and I'll forgive you for Heaney.
Yeah, it's all right. Look, he might be all right. I'm glass half full for me, as always, mate.
That's it. Yeah, that's how you got to be, mate. Yeah.
Yeah. What are your captains for this week, DR? What are you going to do differently?
Yeah, well, it is going to be different, because I'm thinking at this stage of including someone who I haven't had in my loop all year, and that's Rory Laird. So he's been in really, really solid form lately, and coming up against your boys, Essendon, I don't think they'll put any attention into him, and he just racks up so much of the ball. And the good thing is, I think he plays, is it one of the earlier games? I'm pretty sure this week, from memory.
Oh, I think it is. Might be
I'm not too sure, but it's either him, maybe Sammy Walsh is another one as a vice captain, because apparently he had a tag last week, Caleb Sarong, and I did watch a little bit of Vision, which I'll talk about in another video, and they did say that how he basically broke the tag was through his dominant running power. So you saw him get away from Fife on one occasion, away from Sarong on one occasion, and then had a real impact and was really damaging with the ball. So Sammy Walsh could be another one, but the captain, mate, it's a really easy one for me. It's Jack Macrae. He's been so reliable in the past couple of weeks, 130 plus type scores. So I think he's basically going to be there every week for me, Jack Macrae. I'm missing a Jack Steele. I'm missing the Bonts of the world, and I repeat it every week how many big midfielders I'm missing. So for me, realistically, it's going to be Laird or Walsh into Macrae for me this week. How about yourself, Johnny? Are you including that bad man again this week and rolling the dice again?
I've got to. It's rude not to. It's literally those two blokes you just brought up. I'm going to VC Jack Steele this week, who also is playing against Brisbane, which is your team. You obviously VCing Laird against my team, so I think it's appropriate to VC Steele against your team. He went 167 against them last year in 2020. They don't really tag.
Oh, okay.
I don't know where the game is. I hope it's in Queensland. I hope. No, I don't know if it will be.
No, I don't know if it will be. I think it has to be down here in Melbourne anyway. I don't know if it's our home game or theirs, but I think it'll be played down in Melbourne, I'd imagine.
I can't keep up with the bloody fixture, mate. But yeah, it'll be a VC on Steele for a Bonampally response who, he's bound to bounce back, mate, and hopefully he actually does all right. Plays Sydney, so he's probably in a bit of danger for a Hewitt tag, but the last two times he's played him, he's gone 150 plus. So yeah, might be a good one to go for. I think he's probably the favourite for the Brownlow. Look, I know Ollie Wines and Darcy Parish are so close to him, but I think he's the man. So does he respond? I hope he does. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the captaincy this week. It can't go much more worse than it did at around 16, I don't think, DR.
Oh, mate, I must admit, and I felt for you having you as a captain, but for the first time, what has it been this year, as a non-Bont owner, you can actually celebrate. You can actually get through watching a Bulldogs game, because it's so painful watching him every week. Because I love watching the doggies play. I've got Jack Macrae obviously on the side, and I love watching him run around. But it's painful each and every week watching the Bont just dominate. His score just go up, 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 up for everything that he does. But for once this year, he didn't do much. And from a non-owner's perspective, it was just magnificent, mate. I feel for you. It was so good.
I think I'd like to apologise to every SuperCoach under the sun, because I've definitely sparked something there with the SuperCoach gods. I basically banked in that victory before it had happened. I said last week that he was almost a no-one VC for Bonampally. Like, you could just straight up captain him, and I almost VC'd CCJ, mate. I was so confident he would dominate.
You said that as well. You did say that.
Yeah, probably had that one coming, and I'm not going to disagree with that at all, because, I deserved that. And, look, let's just hope I learn and it doesn't happen again.
Oh, I can't see him putting in another stinker like that. I think you're pretty safe with the Bont pick, Johnny. I think you're right.
Hopefully in for a better week. Can't go any worse than I did this week. DR, that's another podcast. Really good one this week. And I don't know if the viewers are going to drop a little bit. I feel like they will. It's that sort of jury part of the season. But whether you finish your side or not, bloody tune into this podcast, because it's good fun. It's a bit of banter, and it's nothing really too serious, and something that we want to do probably every single week. So episode 5 up and running, and it was a good one to get out, DR.
Beautiful, Johnny. Well, thanks again for hosting as always, mate. Good luck to all the SuperCoach community this week. And as always, SuperCoach gods, please be kind. Look after us. Look after us. And look after yourself as well, Johnny.
Take it easy, DR. See you next week.
Good on you, bud.